We made this.
Welcome to Back to the Decade, the podcast where we rewind 10 years and reflect on pop culture of the time. And this is a season on the films of 2011. I am Thomas Adams, joined as always by Nick Hoffman.
What's up?
Nick, I don't have a lot for the little pre-section of the show, so I'm thinking we just go ahead and get into the movies we're covering today. So I'm going to have you hit the Decade Rewind right off the top.
Oh, wow. We're already going back to the decade.
Yeah, we're wasting no time in 2021. We're going right into 2011. We're going to talk today about Fast Five, which came out, April 29th, 2011. Hanna, the Joe Wright film starring Saoirse Ronan, which came out April 8th of 2011. And then Source Code with Jake Gyllenhaal. And that came out April 1st. Let's go first with the big franchise movie. Let's get to our review of Fast Five.
All right, $1 million quarter mile. What do you say, Don?
We talking or we racing? We'll do one last job.
You realize this is the most powerful guy in real?
This is $100 million. You say what?
The men we're after are professional runners. You're going down, Toretto.
Not today.
In theaters and IMAX, April 29th.
Now, do you have any relationship at all to this franchise before doing this review?
I guess a slight one. I saw the first one in the theater when I was, I was a teenager. When did the first one come out?
I think 2001.
Was I in high school? Yeah. So I was a junior in high school, and I really hated it. I hated it. Yeah.
Not a great first impression.
No, not really my thing either. Never was. Those type of movies. I love action flicks. A big Vin Diesel fan. Like Pitch Black, one of my all-time favorite sci-fi films. I grew up with that one. That was before, obviously, Fast and Furious. So I was interested. But yeah, dude, that world, racing cars, stealing cars, all that egotistical bullshit with them, just that type of movie in general, the terrible dialogue and acting. I don't know, when you're not into that genre, then all that stuff, the terrible acting, dialogue, whatever else, doesn't help. So no, I never liked that movie. So
let's see, what you're saying is you're not a family man, is what you're
I guess not when it comes to stealing cars. So I never watched another one of the movies again. I think I may have seen like a snippet of like Tokyo Drift, and I was like, oh my God, I know I never wanted to watch any of these again, but seeing what I just saw with Tokyo Drift reconfirmed that this shit is terrible. So I never been a fan, but I will say I was excited because I'd heard so much about Fast Five and obviously the big fight scene between The Rock and Vin Diesel. So I was pumped to watch this movie, just for a pure action, like blockbuster movie that did really well. And I think you mentioned to me a few days ago that it was considered on a lot of people's like top 10 for the decade list. So, I mean, yeah, I get it. Like, I think it's cool that the franchise went this far, and then they caught a real, they got some real steam, like 5, 6, and 7. They seemed like they kind of did this like mid trilogy within the franchise that was really successful, super successful, and it's carried over to now. So, I appreciate that. So I was happy to check it out. I hated it, by the way.
Yeah,
but,
I'm
just kidding.
You're not a fan. I think that
I'm kidding. I didn't hate it, but go on.
What was I gonna say? A lot of people consider this to be the movie that like rescued the franchise, so to speak, because it introduces The Rock, and it kind of I think for me what happens in this movie that allows the franchise to keep going is that I do think at a certain point in Fast Five it becomes a parody of itself, and it's so fucking ridiculous and over the top that you kind of get this inclination that they're in on the joke. At least that's for me.
Yeah.
When I saw this movie the first time, I was a freshman in college. I hadn't seen a single Fast and Furious movie. I wasn't interested. I'm not a car guy. I have no knowledge about cars or interest in cars. It just was like, oh, that's for like a brand of boy. That's not me. So I didn't watch any of it, but they were screening this at my college theater. So I saw it on a Friday night at 11:30 p.m. with a packed crowd of 18 and 19-year-olds who had some stuff to drink in their dorm rooms beforehand. And everyone just like cackled with laughter throughout the whole movie over like how silly it was and the dialogue, and like when the ridiculous fight scenes and action sequences would happen, they were cheering, and it just like hit this wavelength with that crowd of people that night. And even me, who like didn't know these characters at all, had no idea what was going on for the most part, I found a lot of fun in that. The experience itself was a fun time, so my memory of the movie was overall positive. And with the Fast and Furious films that would come out after, I saw it the same exact way. When 6 came out, I said, you know what, I'm going to see 6, but I'm going to wait for it to come to the college theater to see it with that same function again.
That's cool, man. I like that. Like, yeah, when you view a movie like that, like kind of like Grindhouse style, you're around a bunch of people having a good time, whether it's good or bad. I mean, you can't really go wrong there. You can be someone that doesn't like it and makes fun of it. You can be someone that loves it and still makes fun of it. You can be someone that hates it, and
right.
Right.
I
mean, it's good. That's a good way to view it for sure.
To that end, I kind of I get why Fast Five has a bit of a cult following to it. It built this like audience that maybe wasn't there before, the audience that was not interested in the cars and the action necessarily. And then it became like so ridiculous that all of a sudden it became this event thing where people had to go and just kind of delight in how ridiculous could the series get. And I talk about this 2 days after the newest trailer dropped for F9.
F9. Is that what they're calling it?
Yeah, like the keyboard stroke, F9.
It just continues to like shorten. Because I was trying to pull up the IMDb earlier of Fast Five, and I'm like typing in Fast Five, the number 5. Nothing's coming up. I'm like, what the hell? I had to spell out 5.
F-I-V-E.
4 movies later, it's just F in the number 9.
Yep.
Like, what the hell?
So, real quick, the 9 films in the Fast Saga, which is what they now call it, the Fast Saga. We have The Fast and the Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious, Fast and Furious, Tokyo Drift. No numbers in that title. And then the 4th film is called simply Fast & Furious. So it's just Fast and Furious. Keep in mind, the first one was called The Fast and the Furious, and then the 4th one is just called Fast and Furious. This is ridiculous. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
And then we have Fast 5, and then it's Fast and Furious 6, which is just pretty basic. And then for some reason we have Fast 5, and then we have Furious 7. Fast does not make its way into that title at all. It's just Furious 7. And then the last one that came out was called The Fate of the Furious, which was spelled out F8, The Fate of the Furious.
Oh
And now
man,
it's
this is interesting. I did not
yeah,
pick
and
up
now
on
it's
any of this.
and now it's just F9. It's simply F9. No other, no words. It's just F9.
It's so funny too because you're talking about how they may just be like playing in on the joke and everything. I have the Hawks game on right now, the Hawks Bucks, and they had the trailer just playing, and fucking I guess Michael Cena is the big, he's like Rock in this movie, right?
John Cena, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, John Cena.
Yeah.
And there is a big fight scene with them. Clearly, it's in the trailer, and John Cena has picked up Vin Diesel, and they're going into another room, and there's about what looks to be I don't know, a foot in width of concrete, and Vin Diesel's head just goes through it and leaves like a head mark. Like, come on, man.
Well, they've reached a new
like
level.
a cartoon. It's like a cartoon.
If you watch the full length trailer for F9, they're going to space. They have a flying car. They're wearing space helmets.
Oh shit, are they going to space in this one?
They're going to space. It certainly seems that way. And
I
there's
can't wait to talk about it in 10 years.
Yeah, there's a giant magnet. It's nuts. And I guess The Rock is no longer a part of this because him and Vin Diesel hate each other IRL, and they don't want to work together because they have like a big ego clash.
Yeah, we can talk about that. I thought about that as I was watching Fast Five, and yeah, because I paid attention to their scenes more, like, you know, closely than any of the others, because I wanted to see that tension, and I guess I saw a little. I just saw really, really bad acting. So I don't.
Well, that's my thing with Vin Diesel. I don't think Vin Diesel is like his movie star career confuses the hell out of me. He also just released an album this year, which I was not aware of.
Like an album of what?
Of like pop music. Like
Jesus
it's
Christ.
pop music by Vin Diesel. There's like a new song called like I Feel Good or something. I don't know, but
no, thank you.
It's wild, the movie star career that this guy's had. And then I think the unfortunate death of Paul Walker created this other sort of mythic spirit around the franchise, where the way that they sent off his character in the 7th movie.
Yeah, I want to see that. I hear how amazing the send-off was and how like it was really something. So that's now I kind of want to watch 6 and 7, I guess, and then I'll be done after that.
It's overhyped. I would not get too excited.
Okay.
It's very nice.
Well, I'll be the judge. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard the song that was written for him. It's been a long day.
Oh, that was written for him,
my friend. Yeah,
that was the ginger guy.
Charlie Puth is his name.
The
singer. Okay. But it was written for Furious 7 about
I didn't know that.
Paul Walker. Yeah.
That's a nice song.
It is. Yeah, so like that movie was a huge success just because I think people showed up to see the send off to Paul Walker. But watching this movie, I'm really confused by Vin Diesel's movie career because he's not a good actor, in my opinion. He's not charismatic, and I don't find him particularly good looking. So he doesn't check any of the boxes.
He's not likable.
Right, that you would need for a movie star leading man.
Yeah, I don't get it either, dude. I think, Pitch Black is awesome. Because then they try to make
I've not seen any of the Riddick stuff. So no.
Oh, dude, Pitch Black is incredible. Like for serious, man, like one of the best sci-fi flicks.
I do like him a lot in Saving Private Ryan, which is like his first on-screen role.
Yeah, and then there's Boiler Room, which is good. But like, so what happened with Pitch Black is that was going to be his big franchise, right? And he was going to be Riddick in this new trilogy.
Right.
Oh man, those movies, the movies out after Pitch Black are awful. And then he had Fast and Furious, which obviously he made his like bread and butter. Because I mean, I don't know what else is Vin Diesel making outside of those movies. Nothing really, except for terrible pop music. It sounds like. So no, if he didn't have Fast and Furious, man, I think that's why he takes it so seriously. So when someone like The Rock comes on, and they always want to bring in these guys, whether it's Rock or Statham or
well, right. That's the
Cena.
thing. That's the thing about The Rock is that when Fast 5 came out, he was not a giant movie star. So his
Oh, was he not?
No, so The Rock
2011?
No, The Rock for much of the 2000s was making exclusively children's films. He's doing the Game Plan and the Tooth Fairy and Race to Witch Mountain, and like these are the movies that he's doing during that stretch. And it's not until Fast 5 that they're like, oh, okay, like he's just an action star, and
He was in Scorpion King, Mummy, right?
He was right, but like he did that stuff.
He had like no lines in that movie.
Yeah, he did that stuff, and then it kind of pivoted to he's like the lead of kids movies, and then all of a sudden after I think it's like 2010, he's in The Other Guys, which we've talked about, but it's like it's a brief role, and then he's in like a small action movie called Faster, but then he's like Fast 5, and he's off to the races. He does Pain and Gain. He's got San Andreas and Central Intelligence, and then he's doing like the action comedy stuff with
those are all
and
they're all fun movies though. Has he I don't think he's ever taken on a serious role.
I think Pain and Gain's probably the closest thing.
Oh yeah, that's that one with Mark Wahlberg and what's his name directs it?
Michael Bay.
Yeah, I never saw that.
I think that's like the closest thing to like a serious role for him.
Isn't that movie like a farce in itself? Like, isn't it?
I think so. A lot of people say that's Michael Bay's best film, which isn't a high bar to cross.
Cool.
But
well, okay. So I'll say this then about Fast 5, and if you want to indulge me on this, out of all the characters in Fast 5, I hated The Rock's the most, I think.
Well, he's the character that I think is meeting the movie on that level of, is it in on the joke? Like you're like the read on The Rock's character.
I like The Rock, to be clear. I like him. I enjoy him in movies. I think he's funny. I have no issues with him, but I hated his character. He had his delivery of lines and like the way he would like
parody of a law enforcement figure in an action movie.
Okay. I see that. Right. I hope it's all making fun of itself, and there was like a moment with the female officer that he was with where the way he talked to her, I was like, man, this guy's such a dick.
Yeah,
and then, he's just so full of himself, and like his role in it all, like he's this ultimate bounty hunter. And then like this scene with we're in Brazil.
This is Brazil.
He tries to arrest.
Oh, the standoff scene where he's
where he tries to arrest Paul Walker and Vin Diesel.
I actually have the quote pulled up.
I know we're jumping around a lot here, but I don't know.
We are, but that's okay. It's a movie that doesn't have a lot of plot importance.
Yeah, I guess it matches the movie.
But so the line is, he says, "You're under arrest," to which Vin Diesel replies, "I don't feel like I'm under arrest." And then Hobbs says, "Your mistake is thinking you have a goddamn choice, boy."
Boy, oh yeah, sometimes he had kind of like did he have like a southern accent?
Yes, because
I
actually
would go in and out though.
I wrote down that at the end when The Rock has his heel turn and joins the family on their mission to steal a safe from Reyes, the kingpin of Brazil, and he says, he's like, "I'll ride with you, Toretto, just until we kill this son bitch."
At least until we kill that son of a bitch.
Oh my god.
And he says it just like that. He doesn't say son of a bitch. He says son bitch.
Hello, you son of a bitch.
And it's an accent that I've not heard him use really to that point in the movie.
No, I heard it. I heard it in that scene. Like you just said, you don't have a choice, boy.
And then, like you said, Dom Toretto responds with, "Your mistake is thinking you're in the United States. This is Brazil." And then everyone points their guns at him.
Great plan.
Quite a scene.
I love all the guys with armor and tanks are like, "Hey man, it's Whispers to the Rock. This is a lot of heat. We should get out of here." Fuck.
Get out of here, man.
Oh man. Yeah, you're gonna play sound clip. This if you're gonna play any sound clips, I feel like this movie really deserves them for the terrible dialogue.
Yeah, we can find some sound clips.
Yeah, because the other one that you'd mentioned to me in text, which I attempted to watch this movie late at night the first time, and I fell asleep like halfway through. I don't know, it was a long day, and I must have not recalled, or maybe I blacked out from the stupidity, but the veggies line,
yes. So I'll play a clip for this.
Good news, bad news.
You know I like my dessert first.
One of his officers comes up to The Rock and says, "Do you want the good news or the bad news?" To which The Rock replies,
You know I like my dessert first.
So then after saying that, the guy gives him the good news. And then after the good news is complete, The Rock goes, "No, give me the damn veggies."
Can't move without leaving sign.
Give me the damn veggies.
oh god.
Yeah, that's the kind of shit though that makes me think this movie's in on the joke, because I just don't think that you seriously construct dialogue like that.
Nobody talks like this. And my favorite was I think it's Tyrese. That's his name, right?
Yeah, Tyrese, the actor.
When
Tyrese
Vin Diesel lays out a plan and then things go awry a bit and Vin Diesel still wants to go forward and he says, "This mission just went from Mission Impossible to Mission freaking Insanity." Oh my god. So bad. And like, I don't know what's worse. I feel like Insanity is a lot easier than Impossible. At least Impossible, like, well, Impossible, you're gonna like, you know, it's literally impossible. Like the mission is impossible. Insanity? I don't know. Like things around you are happening and they're kind of insane, but still sounds pretty doable to me. I don't know. Very confusing line.
Yeah, that's from my knowledge of having. I've never seen 1, 2, 3, or 4, but I've seen all of 5, 6, 7, and 8. And from having seen all those movies, that's basically his character, is to just be the guy that's like, "Oh man, isn't this nuts what we're doing? In case you can't watch it as the audience, I'm going to repeat to you what's going on." And that's what he is.
He doesn't show up, I don't think, until 2 or 3.
I think he's in 2, and then he's not in 3 or 4, and then he's back for 5, and he's in all the rest of them.
Because I also liked when, you know, everyone's assembling, like they've all been called for this job, and Paul Walker's introducing some people, Vin Diesel's introducing some people, and like he introduces Tyrese, and they just have this kind of stare down. Vin Diesel goes, "I've heard about you," and that's it. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, what?
Well, that's what's so funny, Nick, is that this is the movie where the whole now like infamous family theme of these movies, it's in their taglines, like "the family is back," and it's always about the family. It starts with this movie because this is really the first one where it's the big team. Like the rest of them are kind of siphoned off. Like Vin Diesel is not even in 2 or 3, and it's really like this is where the family begins. But it seems like they've really not met each other before, and they all of a sudden show up in this same room, and Vin Diesel goes, "Gather around."
Money will come and go. We know that. The most important thing in life will always be the people in this room. Right here. Right now.
When? Like, when did that happen?
Well, no, before that though, when they're all meeting each other, all simultaneously showing up at the same time, and they're all like embracing each other, like, "Oh, hugs," and "Oh man, good to see you. Oh yeah, cool."
Yeah.
And one guy goes, "So, why'd you bring us all together here, Vin Diesel?" I refuse to call the characters by their names, so I just don't know them that well. But anyway, and he he simply goes, "I got a job." I'm like, no shit, no shit, you have a job.
Because we got a job.
What are you pulling everyone together for a family reunion? You're gonna have a barbecue and that's it? No, I mean, yeah, there's a job. That yeah, those lines, they're both cringeworthy, but also like I just laugh and it's kind of enjoyable. And seeing I didn't know Gail Gadot wasn't involved in this movie, so she was lovely. I think she was probably the best part of the movie because
I was gonna say she's among the things that I like about this movie. She's the best actor. I don't even know if, to me, so like what I was just saying about Vin Diesel, about how he doesn't check any of the boxes, where he's like not a good actor, not very charismatic, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't personally think Gal Gadot is a great actress.
I wouldn't say she's great, but
she has so much charisma, and she's beautiful. She's stunning for one.
Yeah.
But she just has a lot of movie star energy. Like when she's on screen, she just commands attention, which I think is why she's such a good Wonder Woman, is because that character like demands a lot of respect and attention. And she's the best part of whatever efforts DC has made to have a movie franchise.
Yeah, her and Sung Kang, that's how you pronounce his name. Sung Kang.
Han.
Yeah, he was really good too. I liked him. And their dynamic and chemistry was really great.
Yeah, they get like more of a romantic relationship in the 6th movie.
Oh, even more of a reason to watch. And I love the Hispanic guys. I couldn't tell if they were brothers or just friends, but they acted like brothers.
I think it's unclear, but they could be brothers.
Yeah, but they were fun. They were fun to watch.
There's also a line where The Rock says, "Make sure you get your Funderwear on." I don't know if you ever caught that, but these are just lines that I wrote down.
And yeah, like I said, I kind of blacked out on this movie with those lines because there were so many of them.
This movie is completely ridiculous. It was not as much fun to watch it by myself in like 7
by yourself in
installments.
your den. Not a great viewing.
I watched it in 7 installments because I kept trying to watch it during the day and the baby continued to interrupt me. And it's like hard enough to pay attention as it is. And then you're like, okay, I don't even like this plot has nothing in the first place. And now I'm like completely lost in terms of what's going on.
Well, let's look at it like this too for the audience. Anyway, is that, and like you were talking to me about this before, how because we were texting back and forth about our thoughts on the movie, and yeah, this is why I fell asleep in the first half, because it's dog shit. It's so boring. Like there's a couple good decent action scenes, but the story and like the characters and like their shit and like the family and like
it's hard to track.
This was one of my favorite terrible lines was Paul Walker and Vin Diesel are like yelling back and forth to one another, and one wants to do one thing, the other wants to do something else, and out of nowhere the girl, Vin Diesel's sister, and Paul Walker's lover, just goes, she delivers it just like this: "I'm pregnant." And then it just turns into this like embrace, like, "Oh, we got a new member of the family."
Yeah,
and I'm just sitting there like, I don't give a shit about this, and you people, you characters are so annoying. So when the action finally kicks in like the second hour, that's when I'm like, okay, this movie's fun. There's enough here to like enjoy, and I could see why it was so popular and people had fun with it. But man, that first 45 minutes to an hour is rough to like, if you don't know, especially if you don't know anything about the fuck's going on, like
I think this
characters.
This franchise is just made for the big screen. I've not seen a single one of these at home until a few nights ago when I watched Fast 5.
Yeah.
Like I see these in the theater and then I don't think about them again, because that's what they're there for. They're big, stupid action scenes that you're meant to like enjoy in a big crowd. And then you go home and you never think about them again. Like that's that's really all that it is. It's a glorified, and anyone that loves this franchise could get offended, but Fast and Furious is a glorified theme park attraction. Like that's all it is.
Yeah. And I think if we're going to talk extensively about any action scene, it's definitely the end where they had the safe heist. I mean, we haven't even talked about plot much because, okay, so what, they're going after this, he's like a Mexican crime lord, right? What's going on with him exactly? I couldn't tell if he was a character from the movies before.
I don't think he is.
I don't understand why they had such a grudge against him. Like why they wanted to earn this dude's money.
He seems like a bad guy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, this guy's got a big safe of money and he's trying to protect it. And the Fast and Furious family are after it. And the big final sequence of the film, whatever, it's like the last 20 minutes, there's a huge bank heist, or not bank heist, but safe heist, if you will, where they drag a safe, big old, giant, heavy, probably weighs tons and tons, metal safe filled with money out of the police station. That's where it's being kept because he's got all the police corrupt. He's paying all the police off. So the whole town's corrupt. And that's right. It's Brazil, of course. And they're dragging this safe across the city.
The streets of Rio, right?
Just like straight up bashing into buildings and office buildings, and they destroy an entire bank. And I'm just sitting there like, the collateral damage that's happening here. Like, how many innocent civilians are dying because these motherfuckers are like holding a grudge, dragging this dude's safe with two supercharged Chargers.
All right, I'll give you like a 2-minute spiel because I went back to track the plot to like catch us up to the details that we're missing from having just watched the movie 3 days ago.
Okay, good.
Dom escapes from prison. They are on the run to Rio, where they get involved in this altercation on a train where the people are trying to steal one of the cars. And then in the process, they learn that these people are working for this dude Reyes, who rather than help Dom and Brian had ordered them to basically kill him and steal the cars. Well, they fail, and then everyone realizes that this guy had been left, like they got left a chip by accident, a computer chip, which Brian, who's the Paul Walker character.
Is that his name?
Yeah, Brian investigates the chip and discovers that it contains the complete financial details of Reyes's criminal empire, including the location of $100 million in cash, which they decide that, hey, we're going to steal it because this guy's a bad dude and we need money to go on the run to a country that doesn't have extradition because they're all convicts. So they basically got to get to some country where they could live their lives and not get arrested. But yeah, that's the setup. And then they steal a safe and they fling it through the streets. And there's a fun little rope-a-dope at the end where Vin Diesel pretends he suggests that he's going to basically let Paul Walker drive on. As he says in the movie, "You're a father now, Brian." And he unhooks him, lets him drive away, goes back to face the cops, and has some like wild scene that there's no way. I mean, all of this stuff in Fast and Furious is completely implausible, but he somehow like times the flipping of his car so that the safe would like fling around and take out the tanks in the process. Like he completely knew the exact angle to make the tank fly through the air and wipe out all of the incoming enemy vehicles. As he then dives onto the concrete, all of a sudden this dude's going to shoot him, but Paul Walker had come back, saves him. The Rock shows up and he's like, "All right, you may have escaped Reyes, guys, but you're coming to jail. You know what? As a gentleman, though, I'll give you a head start of some sort." Well, then the Rock then realizes that there was a little bit of a rope-a-dope in the process, they switched the safes into a garbage truck or something, and the safe that they were flinging around was actually empty the whole time.
It was the one that they got to practice
Right.
on. Yeah.
Right. Anyway, that's the best part of the movie is that last 20 minutes or so, 20, 30 minutes.
Dude, getting that safe under the bridge, having like whatever, how many seconds it was to get the safe in the truck.
16 seconds.
And then replace it with the duplicate safe or whatever you want to call it.
The dummy, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. The dummy. And oh my God, it's impossible. That's impossible what they did. It's all impossible.
Is it impossible or is it in freaking sanity?
Freaking sanity, man. Man, I don't. Yeah, it's just all the above. But it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah,
I enjoyed those last like 30 minutes or whatever. Just it's a pure action film. It was good.
It is. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this movie. I think I probably give it like a 5 or a 6 or something like that. Like it's nothing good, but it's like at least fun enough that I acknowledge what's good about it. I still think it's probably the best. I mean, it's not a really high bar for me, but
we didn't even talk about the big fight scene between Vin Diesel and The Rock, which is like the biggest.
Oh yeah, the fight scene
which I mean, I don't know. There's not much to say other than there's this big brute fight between Vin Diesel and The Rock, and they go through walls and shit, and somehow Vin Diesel like ends up beating the shit out of The Rock, which is absolutely absurd. Would never happen.
Well, I don't know this for sure, but I think that they both have it written into their contracts that neither of them can lose a fight.
But The Rock lost.
But if you notice,
he was about to smash him in the face with a giant metal wrench, and he decided to.
But he doesn't. Vin Diesel concedes in the end.
Yeah, because he didn't want to go to jail for murder.
That is something.
Dude.
They have it written in that neither of them can lose a fight. So the fight is basically like ran to a draw, essentially.
Vin Diesel definitely won that fight. Now, do I think he would have in real life? Absolutely not. The Rock would beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm a UFC judge, I'm giving the fight to Vin Diesel. But,
yeah.
But he definitely had the upper hand. I actually, like, when I was in college, I did something that I thought was pretty funny. I edited this fight. I took this fight off of YouTube, the Vin Diesel Rock fight. I got rid of the audio and I put behind it the score from the Star Wars Cantina. The do 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 do.
Okay.
And I put that to this fight, and it like actually works out perfectly, and it's really funny.
Nice, dude.
It's just this like completely silly music as they're like heaving fists at each other.
Is that on YouTube or something?
No, it was like on my computer back then, or I never like posted it.
Should have posted it.
But it was right around the time when I learned that I think someone did something similar with the Cantina theme and a KFC commercial. And there was a lot of people talking about how like you could put the Cantina theme behind anything and it like actually works. So I put it behind this fight, and yeah, it's just basically 4 or 5 minutes of gorillas heaving their arms at each other is essentially what this fight boils down to.
Yeah. I mean, so that to me, that's what I thought was the takeaway from this film. Was that's what everyone always talked about. Like, oh, have you seen Fast Five? Have you ever seen that fight between Vin Diesel and The Rock? I'm like, no, I haven't, but it seems worth watching. So, I mean, it was cool. I enjoyed the fight.
Yeah.
But man, if you really want me to put a grade on this movie, oof, I guess I'd give it a 4. I think that's being generous.
It's fair. I mean, I'm always like,
it's a bad movie. It really is, but there's plenty there to enjoy as a pure action film. So I hated the first hour. I'll say that. I was like,
Okay.
if this is how it's going to be for the rest of this movie, oh my god. But from the entertainment aspect, in blockbuster action, that last hour and 20 or whatever was good. It was fun.
Yeah.
Not
I'm normally
good.
like I'm generous to anything that I didn't like hate my experience. And this I don't. I acknowledge that I think all of these movies are bad, but I do find some fun in them. So like I don't find them like completely worthless.
No,
But-
I mean, I think I will go watch 6 and then 7 now at some point. I don't know when, but it's not like high priority. But I would like to see how they send off Paul Walker and everything. So,
Yeah, even if you just skip to 7, I mean, you're not going to miss anything.
So wait, I don't.
That's the thing.
Is 5 the one where at the end of the credits, like Statham is introduced, or is that not till 6?
6, the end of 6. Statham is the villain of 7. Basically,
Okay.
at the end of 6, Statham is somehow related to a member of another movie. I'm not sure all the details. Basically, so a little like, to my knowledge, Tokyo Drift is like a sequel of some sort. Even though it's the third movie, Tokyo Drift is happening far into the future. And in Tokyo Drift, the Han character, played by Sung Kang, is dead.
Oh,
In Tokyo Drift.
interesting.
And at the end of Fast 5, which we just watched, Gal Gadot, they're going to, she's like, where are we going? He's like, I've always wanted to see Madrid. And she says, I thought we were going to Tokyo. To which he goes, we'll get there eventually.
Ah.
Which is him,
Oh,
which is him being like, Tokyo Drift is actually a sequel. Like this franchise is all out of order. Well, then
That's kinda cool.
at the end of 6, you see Han does go to Tokyo at the end of 6, and then in a post-credit scene, you see Han's car get flipped, and then Jason Statham kills him in Tokyo.
Oh, is that like the end credit scene?
Right, yes.
Oh man, that's fucked up.
Which is a setup for Furious 7, in which
I
Statham
can't believe you
is
just
the
ruined
villain.
that for me. Fuck, man. It's like the one character I liked in the film. No,
It's okay though, because for some reason
does he come back as a robot? Han the robot?
I don't know what the fuck's going on. He's in F9.
What?
Like in the trailers,
God.
he's in it. The character died 2.5 movies ago, and he's in the trailer for F9.
I mean, he's a good character. They shouldn't have killed him.
And
Maybe he's not really dead. Oh, maybe okay, there you go.
There
He's
was
dead
this,
in Tokyo Drift, but like, was he?
There was this. I mean, it trended for like a year because at the end of, I think is it the 8th movie? In the 8th movie, Statham joins the team and like becomes part of the team because everyone wanted Jason Statham to be in the movies.
Yeah,
And
and
everyone-
they had Hobbs and Shaw too, right?
They did, right? But everyone was like, you can't, like, this is a disgrace. This franchise is all about family, and Han was in the family, and this guy killed Han.
Yeah.
So you can't let this guy be in the family because he's a fucking asshole that killed Han. So like the hashtag justice for Han was trending like all over Twitter or whatever. And then when they released the trailer for F9 18 months ago, a long time ago, because this movie was supposed to come out in April of 2020, and then the pandemic obviously delayed it. But the initial trailer was like, justice will be served, and then all of a sudden from the shadows Han walks out. So yeah, this is it looks it was funny. I was bitching to Caitlin, my wife, for 10 minutes about how stupid Fast 5 is, and then not 20 minutes later the trailer for F9 dropped. I watched it, and then I turned to her. I'm like, yeah, we're going to have to go see that. So
Yeah.
it's a wild anomaly, this franchise, but we've talked about it for a long time.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it too long at this point.
Well, that's gonna do it for Fast Five. Let's move on.
On to Hanna.
Let's get to our review of Hanna.
Remember what I taught you, you'll be fine.
I live in Leipzig, population 0.7 million people. I go to school at the Klaus Gymnasium.
We need to keep this contained, gentlemen.
What else?
My best friend's Clara Schließ.
She killed 2 policemen.
I like literature and sport,
I tried to prepare you.
in particular tennis and athletics. I don't really know who you are, do I? Come and find me.
Hanna, rated PG-13.
So we decided late in the game to talk about this movie, and I'm
I'd never
glad we
seen
did.
it.
I'm glad we did.
It's actually a rare case where I hadn't seen 2 out of 3 of these movies. Usually I've seen most of the movies we talk about. Well, at least like all of them except for one maybe. But I hadn't seen either Fast Five or Hanna. I was pretty pumped for Hanna because I'd heard it was good. And I like that kind of, I thought it might have some sort of like a professional vibe, like The Professional, you know, that movie from the 90s.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was genuinely excited about this one, thinking and knowing that this is probably going to be really good.
It is really good. I saw this movie 10 years ago. I've not seen it since. I kind of forgot about it until 2019 when Amazon decided to release a series that was based off of it about it's called Hanna. It's like the same concept. I think basically like the premise is these genetically modified children that some government sanctions trying to basically develop into these super soldiers of sort, and
Kind of like mutants.
yeah, right. And the guy, and she's on the run. Like some guy takes her into the woods, into hiding from this
Eric
fate.
Bana.
Eric Bana.
He's fucking awesome in this. I loved him.
Oh yeah, Eric Bana is great in this. He's not in it very much, but like what he's in is really good.
Yeah.
Kate Blanchett is the villain of this movie, doing some like wild accent work.
Another Southern accent.
Yeah, I
Right on
can
the
never
rock, dude.
quite get my finger on.
Yeah, that was an interesting one too. She's always great, man. Yeah, the cast in this movie is phenomenal.
Yeah, and then Saoirse fucking Ronan, like she's
Lady Bird
she's
before Lady Bird.
she's maybe the greatest actress of her generation right now. She's been nominated for 4 Oscars already. She's only fucking 27. Like she's super young, and she's great in Lady Bird. She's great in the new Little Women. Brooklyn, it's a movie from a few years ago. She's just, yeah, I mean, she's awesome, and I think she's good in this. She's playing a really tough balance between having to be this intimidating, deadly figure, but also a naive child who doesn't know a lot about the world and the way that it works because she's been in hiding most of her life. And I think she plays that really well. This movie has a great score. The way that it uses music to like cut to the beat of the action sequences is really cool. There's a villain who whistles and reminds me a lot of Kill Bill. The way that they kind of use that whistle as this menacing lead up to the villain arriving. It's a great movie, and I'm glad we decided to cover it.
Yeah, and it's what I do love about it from the very start is there's not a whole lot of plot explained, right? It's like, okay, you have this young girl with her, you presume it to be her father. They're on the run, or they're in hiding, really. You know, it seems to take place modern day, but they're living in the woods for some reason, and her father's teaching her how to hunt and fight and like be aware of all surroundings when you're like attacked from behind, stuff like that. Just like every little detail in survival that you could possibly think and train for. Like this dude is getting her ready for the real world. And then, yeah, I mean, like you slowly learn like what's actually happening and why they were in hiding. And yeah, man, I really loved all the performance in this. Yeah, like he said, that that was a great bad guy with the whistling. Who's the actor?
His
Who's
name.
the
His name's Tom Hollander.
Tom Hollander. Okay, yeah. But yeah, man, the editing was fantastic. The music really, at times, it reminded me of. I'm a big fan of The Fifth Element, so it kind of had that same feel that, when Lilu is like trying to escape the military chasing her because she is this like perfect weapon,
Mm-hmm.
which is what Hanna is. She's kind of this perfect weapon, and it's exactly what they had been hoping for with the way they were manipulating these genetics with these children. And who knows how many more of them there are, but Eric Bana's character, his name is actually also Eric in the film, Eric Heller, he clearly has a change of heart as to how they're doing this, and that it's inhumane, and which is why he takes Hanna and hides her in the woods and teaches her all the survival, all the things she would have been taught in a facility, basically. Like he turns her into a killer, but more for good than bad. He wants her to live, like truly live. And yeah, there's a lot of heart in this film. Like you could really see it. Like Eric Bana's eyes, man, that dude just has these really soft and empathetic eyes that he really wants her to thrive, but not as a cold-blooded killer or like a soldier, but as a human being that can experience life. And yeah, her whole like traveling across the country with another family, and she had that really nice relationship with the young girl that was her age or close to her age, and that whole family was great too. I love that actor that plays the dad. Let's see, what was his name? Is it Bob?
I actually don't know that actor that plays the dad on the family that she ends up.
Yeah, no, I've seen him in other things. God, this IMDb is kind of hard to. These actors are all over the place. But yeah, anyway, man, I love that she got to experience for a short period of time, what being a kid is like, and seeing what real families do and stuff like that. But she goes on also to finish the job, and I guess Cate Blanchett is tracking her down, but she's tracking Cate Blanchett as well. Mm-hmm. And they just want her dead because she's this kink in their plan to continue this experiment and further it with other children like her. Right. Yeah, man. I don't know. I loved it so much. And it wasn't as violent as I thought it was going to be. I guess I didn't realize it was PG-13. I thought it would have been rated R.
Yeah, a lot of the violence occurs off screen. Like there's a notable point in the movie where towards the end, Eric Bana goes to kill the whistling henchman that's been dominating a lot of the movie so far. And he like has this crowbar and he's got him like basically tied up in this swing set. And he goes to basically shove the crowbar through his chest, but it cuts away and you like don't see that happen. So a lot of the violent scenes in the movie make those choices where there's implied hyper violence, but it always kind of cuts away. Like when Eric Bana's character gets killed at the end, they cut away. You don't see that happen. And very pointedly, this movie features something that I really love, which is bookend sequences using the same shot construction and dialogue from the first scene to tie up the end scene, and it basically unfolds in the same way. In the end, Hannah's hunting, shoots a deer, and she like walks up to the deer, and the deer is struggling, and she says, "I just missed your heart," and she pulls out a gun and fires, and it like cuts and says Hanna or whatever, like cuts to the opening credits. But you never like see the gunshot. You just see like the gun in the frame, and then the bam, and it cuts. At the end, when she finally kills the Cate Blanchett character, same thing, same construction, the character's like limping away. She comes up, camera's in the same position. I just missed your heart, raises the gun, boom, cut to black. Just really, really smart storytelling, and then shot construction to like have those moments kind of bookend the way they do.
Yeah, totally. And it pulls up the instead of like necessarily cutting to black, it pulls up the title and the name of the main character again, Hanna.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really great. And then you mentioned music earlier, and it is really, really good. And it's the Chemical Brothers, who were a really popular band from the 90s, and they've done some other soundtracks I know they were successful with, because I've seen them build in other movies.
To my knowledge, they're not like super involved in film scoring, but they've done a few. Like it's not like it's not like Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who are doing a ton of that now.
I mean, they did The Saint, which is incredible. Hunger Games, which is popular. I don't know to what extent they were involved. I mean, you got the Vanilla Sky soundtrack too, which is awesome. But yeah, the Chemical Brothers are like similar to like Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails, who their music really translates well into film and film editing, and they're great composers outright. So yeah, man, I totally agree with you where the music played a huge role in this movie, and it really paired well with the editing. Yeah, it just kind of went real fast and furious. Not like the movie we previously talked about, but
reminds me a lot of so the John Wick franchise does something similar, where it's a lot of cutting to music, these like action sequences that are constructed almost as music videos. And this is similar in that regard. I like this movie more than the John Wick films, because I think the story is just a lot stronger. But it's a very similar style of action choreography, which is nice to see. And I actually read this movie was originally meant for Danny Boyle, and then after he turned it down, they offered it to Alfonso Cuarón. And these are like two Academy Award-winning filmmakers.
Would have been great in their hands, either one of them.
Right, but they ended up giving it to Joe Wright, who I think before Hanna was pretty much just known for Atonement. I guess he made Pride and Prejudice as well.
Yeah.
But Atonement was, I believe, like his big, that movie, I think, had a Best Picture nomination. It had a lot of attention for his work there. And obviously Saoirse Ronan kind of breaks out in that movie. She gets her first Oscar nomination. I believe she's like, God, she could not have been that old. She was 13 when that movie came out, which means when Hanna comes out, she's 17. But if it speaks to the clout Saoirse Ronan had from even a very young age, after Danny Boyle and Alfonso Cuarón didn't work out, Saoirse Ronan is the one that told the producers to hire Joe Wright, which is crazy that like a 17-year-old had that kind of power. But he comes on after Atonement to direct this movie and does a pretty honorable job with it, I think.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I think it kills it. And this movie's clearly influential on some others later on, because like I'm a huge fan of Logan, the Wolverine movie.
Yep.
And there's a lot of similarities there, except
for sure.
Logan's a hard R, which I love about the movie. And you have a girl the similar age to Hanna, just ripping people's faces off, and you see it on camera. But it's like as if Wolverine were to stumble upon Hanna and help her escape this world of, being chased, to be experimented on, and to be meant to be a soldier.
Mhm.
Very similar, right? Like Logan plays the father figure even though he's not really the father, and Eric Bana plays the father figure even though he's not really the father, but sees, has a heart, morally
Heart of gold.
obligation to
Yep.
give him an actual life so they can experience life as opposed to just being these cold, blooded soldiers that just meant to be killing machines. So yeah, I always love it, man. I love it when movies like this show their heart, and like that main character, whether it's Hannah or the girl in Logan or these type movies that
The
really just want
X-23
to-
character.
Yeah, man. Just want to show them how to be human instead of like basically a machine. It's nice.
I'm really not all surprised. I was looking at this movie's like award recognition, and really it's all for score, which backs up a lot of what we were just saying. That's like the big critical takeaway from the film was its music.
Yeah.
So it certainly validates that. And
Chemical Brothers, man. Go listen to some of their albums from the 90s and 2000s. They're very good.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And I'm actually like it prompted me. I've not started it yet, but I am a lot more curious now in the TV series after having watched the movie. It at least it prompts some interest in checking it out because I hear that it's pretty good. Like I've not heard anything amazing about it, but I think it's certainly something that I could enjoy just based on me liking this movie.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we have as much to say about Hanna as we did Fast Five.
I mean, I don't know. It's like it's a good flick. What are you gonna say?
Yeah, it's hard.
Fast Five.
It's hard. It's hard to break down something that's just like, yeah, it's good. It's
really good.
Go check it out.
I feel like Source. Well, okay. So here's another great thing about both Hanna and Source Code. They are like very tight, well made, well edited, well directed, well acted, 90-minute films. I mean, Hanna might be a little longer than 90 minutes, but they're very short and precise as far as like filmmaking goes. Get to the point very quickly, beginning, middle, end.
Hanna is 111.
Okay. I'm sorry. So like, what is that?
It's still 20 minutes shorter than Fast Five.
Okay, so yeah, exactly. So you got a movie like Fast Five.
It's like an hour 50 basically.
Yeah, Fast Five with all this nonsense, terrible writing, terrible acting, whatever else. I don't want to like.
It's bloated. Those movies are bloated. But Hanna is it is tight. Like that movie kind of breezed by.
It feels like a 90-minute movie.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the same with Source Code. Like, okay, these movies, yeah, we're not going to have a lot. I mean, we could break down like scene by scene, or do that. But there's not as much to say because it's so well made, and that's that. Like they're very well made, precisely.
I mean,
wonderful.
there's also a lot of content in making fun of something sometimes, so that like welcomes a little more than something like Hanna, where this. I'm kind of like surprised that it is not more respected than it is. This kind of feels like a movie I'd completely forgotten about and didn't remember because it like doesn't really get talked about. But it has a great cast, like we said. It's from a pretty successful director, and now it's got this TV series. So there must have been something memorable about it, and.
Yeah, it definitely has that cult following feel, right?
Mm-hmm. Compared to other options we had for the month of April, which were like Scream 4 and Insidious, which I think both of those could have been fun to talk about, maybe if not as fun to watch. I'm satisfied with what Hanna gave us, and I've been trying to rate these things more on the episodes just because it like helps me make a list at the end of the year like we've been doing. So I think Hanna I give about an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. 8 for sure.
All right, well, let's move off of Hanna and get into our review of Source Code.
What is my mission?
A bomb exploded on a train outside of Chicago, killing everyone. A secret program called the Source Code will send you back before the explosion. If you find the bomber, the next attack can be prevented. You'll have 8 minutes.
Change the past. What would you do if you knew you had less than 8 minutes to live?
I'd make those seconds count.
Save the future.
John! Get back!
Source Code. Rated PG-13 in theaters April 1st.
Now, this movie, if I remember correctly, was in your preseason top 5 of 2011, correct?
Yeah, that sounds right. I love this movie. I love Duncan Jones, the director.
And it held up for you this time?
Oh, absolutely. It's such a fun movie. Everything's laid out for you so simply. And again, yeah, it's the shorter of the 3 movies that we're talking about today, but it's simple. You can in a way even call it kind of dumb fun. But it's very smartly dumb fun. It's got that kind of ground.
I think it's a smart, dumb movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. It's got that kind of Groundhog Day feel to it, which I always love. That kind of, I'm a big, like, Groundhog Day, I would arguably put in my top 10, 20, maybe all time. So, yeah, basically the movie is about a new technology that this scientist had been working on for what seems to be like his lifelong love project of basically taking someone who's fallen as far as it's a soldier in combat that has a compatible mind to be able to hook up to his machine that he's invented. And in Jake Gyllenhaal's case was like, he's a soldier that was in a terrible helicopter accident in, I think, Afghanistan, right? So the last thing he remembers, but there's a part of his brain that's still active, even though he died in combat, and he's lost all his limbs, and he's been hooked up to this machine that basically goes to that one part of the active part of the brain and creates this alternate reality called the source code, where they can then take his personality and put it into someone else's, another part of, like, the same thing, right? Person died. In this instance, it was a train crash. Well, it was a bomb that went off on a train in Chicago, heading to Chicago. They were compatible. So he was able to take the identity of this person that was a part of this bombing on the train to then relive exactly 8 minutes before the train explodes to figure out why, or I'm
basically
sorry, maybe not why, but who did it, right? Where the bomb was located, who the bomber was, and somehow they were able to, like, pinpoint this person was close to, like, where the bomb was. Therefore, that bomber would have been nearby, and Jake Gyllenhaal's character in this other person's body, I think his name was Sean, has to over and over and over again go through these 8 minutes on the train trying to figure out who the bomber was. The biggest thing is that there's a huge bomb that's going to be set off in Chicago that could potentially kill millions, and they're trying to evacuate the whole city, which is why it's so important for them to figure out who the bomber is as soon as possible. And go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna say, so, like, what this movie is I, like, had this thought while I was watching it. Conceptually, it's, what if you had an escape room, but instead of having an hour to solve the puzzle, you had to just, like, keep resetting every 8 minutes with, like, some new information that allows you to start from a better position, but you still only have 8 minutes to solve it. Like, the time doesn't change, and it's cool in that way because the death is completely unconsequential to him, because as the twist kind of reveals halfway through, although I remember the first time I saw it being shocked. Like, I don't know about, like, fully shocked, but the twist worked on me the first time. I think this time it felt a little more obvious, maybe because I knew it was coming, but he's dead. Jake Gyllenhaal is dead. And, like, as you said, he was in a bad plane crash. helicopter, and his like consciousness is connecting to this person that also died, and he's like reliving a simulation essentially. But it's weird. Instead of a simulation, he's like basically taking over this person's brain and just going over it over and over and over again. And I think this movie hits on a lot of really interesting ideas about the afterlife, which kind of in the end, it makes a point after Jake Gyllenhaal has found the bomber and proven the source code successful. He asks for one more shot to go back in there. And he has this, I guess she's a military officer of some sort, played by Vera Farmiga. Yeah, her name's Goodwin, played by Vera Farmiga, who is from movies like Up in the Air and The Departed and The Conjuring. And she kind of hears him out and agrees to send him back in because he wants to essentially save this girl that he's developed a connection with through his numerous trips.
Michelle Monaghan.
Through the source code. Yeah, Michelle Monaghan. Who's like, if you need someone in your movie that is just like
Christina.
Yeah, a cute girl that's just like that girl next door.
Well, she's young still, right? She's still trying to figure it all out because it keeps, every time he wakes up in the train to start that 8 minutes over again, it's always her saying, "I took your advice. It was really good advice." And she's just
about some dude or whatever that she was.
Yeah, well, and she's unsure about where she wants to go and how she wants to live her life. And I think they even mentioned her age, that she was like 27 or 28 in the movie. So, I mean, we were all at that age. Well, shit, you are that age.
I am that age.
I was at least kind of in that same position, like, oh man, where am I going? What am I doing?
Which is really funny because Michelle Monaghan, when this movie came out, was 35. So I don't know. Good for her, I guess, that she's playing 27-years at 35.
I mean, she's beautiful. She looks great. Always.
Yeah, so. she's like she plays the same role in Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
She plays the same role in countless action movies where she's just like the lovable girl next door type that your action hero falls in love with because she's so likable. But anyway, he goes back to save her. At least that's what his mission is in his head for this final trip through. And he tells her as well that I want you to kill me when I'm done, right? He says, when I'm done with this last trip, I want you to let me die. And I think she agrees, but her boss, played by Jeffrey Wright, who I don't know when does he ever not play
he's awesome, man.
He is, but like he plays like the same character in every movie.
Yeah, like what's that? Westworld.
He's like the nerdy, neurotic, fast talking guy that like never had a social life. That's kind of his vibe.
Yeah, and he explains that. Okay, so to elaborate more on the source code, that like these are all, none of it's real. There's no, like, the life that matters, the one that's being lived, is the one where the bombing actually took place in Chicago. People are already dead. So everyone on that train that he keeps going back to, they're already dead. So every time he goes back, like, that's not real. It's not like an alternate universe. It's none of that. It's just a complete simulation. But Jake Gyllenhaal's character really thinks that, no, like, what if every time you do this, you're creating an alternate timeline, an alternate universe, dimension, whatever you want to call it, and it is real, and he really believes it is. So he says, like, to Goodwin, like, you're wrong. Like, right. No, like, this is why I want you to send me back, because I think I could really save these people in this time. And that's when, it really, the twist in the end really works to me. But continue with what you were saying.
Yeah. So the timeline twist in source code is a lot like the way that time gets explained in Avengers Endgame, So that movie like has this whole point of like explaining its time travel structure, how
this isn't time travel.
Right. Like it's these branches, right? Every time you mess with time, you're just creating another dimension that's running parallel.
Yeah.
Basically.
Like
and you can
Rick and Morty shit.
Yeah, like you could skip from one to the other, but like you can't go backwards and forwards.
Like, you ever watch Rick and Morty?
I haven't, but I know what you're talking about.
It's great because I thought about that movie. I'm sorry, I thought about that show as I was watching this movie because I'd never seen that show or it didn't exist. Source Code was made, but yeah, there's like hundreds and hundreds of alternate dimensions and realities in Rick and Morty. It's really funny. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so like all this to say, I think the ending jarred me a little bit this time, mainly because he goes back, he calls his dad, he has a cathartic moment where he gets to essentially tell his dad goodbye. And then he coerces this comedian on the train and says, I bet you, I forget how much money, that you can't make everyone in this car laugh.
$127, I think.
Yeah, $127 that you can't make everyone in this car laugh.
Did you mention that? Sorry, did you mention that he had like already got the guy, the bomber?
Yeah. He already got the bomber at this point, and he wants to go back one last time to save the girl. And like, the bomber, he has 8 minutes. He like finds the bomber, calls the police, and gets him cuffed like within 4 minutes. Like he really like didn't need the 8 minutes to do it.
He leaves him like a message. The police like, I'm sick in the head. I left the bomber.
Yeah, I'm a twisted fuck. Whatever.
Yeah.
So then the 8 minutes comes up, and the comedian is getting everyone to laugh, and you see them like up in the rafters and down in the seats, and everyone's watching him and everyone's laughing. And then it freezes. It's a freeze frame at the time that the 8 minutes comes up. And it freezes on like everyone's faces, and they're all smiling and they're laughing and they're having a good time. And either two things are happening here. Either I'm misreading the movie, or the movie is doing two things simultaneously, and I was only following it on one path. But I thought what they're doing is a kind of poignant afterlife movie where the message was going to be maybe he saved him, maybe he didn't. But the point was he got to go in there and preserve their memory in the best way possible. Like all these people that died, he got to go in there and give them this feeling of joy in his image. Like in his mind, he got to go give these people happiness and comfort in the last moments of their lives. And then he like goes off with Michelle Monaghan to downtown Chicago, sees that famous art piece,
the bean
that he keeps seeing in his source code, like his mental image keeps flashing that every time.
It's a big part right there.
Yeah. Which is kind of like insinuating that like that was like his destiny, that he was always going to like go back to that part. So I was thinking to myself that like that character had gone to some form of heaven, to which now I'm like wondering if this is me misreading the film, because it like cuts from that. And then it's like big twist. Actually, he did save everyone, and it was like an alternate timeline.
Does exist. Remember, don't leave out the fact that he sent an email to Goodwin.
Right.
Explaining everything. Like, as you know now, that there was supposed to be a big bombing, and it was thwarted, and this means source code works better than you could have ever imagined. And it shows you that the alternate timeline has been created, like a new dimension, whether it's been created or not, or already existed. It exists. Because on the train, he says, like, once he kisses her, he's like, I kiss you again one last time. And everything freezes, but then it unfreezes, and he's like, wait, I'm not dead. I'm not back in the machine thing. I'm alive. And then he says to her, you know, as they approach the bean in Chicago, do you ever think or whatever, how exactly he says it, but do you believe in fate, or like things are
right, like predestiny, essentially.
Yeah. She's like, no. He's like, okay. And they go, the thing with me is like, okay, so he just like take over this dude's body? And,
so
like,
that's what happened
to Sean?
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, in this universe he's created where he saves them, is he Coulter Stevens, or is he this Sean guy? Because clearly, like, Christina is still seeing Sean. Like, she thinks that she's talking to Sean.
That's one of those plot holes where, I mean, I'll just go back to, and even though this isn't considered time travel, we can sit here and try to explain all day as to why and how and all this and that.
Like, time travel movies have so many plot holes. Like any,
there are no rules.
Right.
Yeah, it is fucked up that like this dude existed, whether it's in X timeline or Y timeline. It doesn't fucking matter. Like Sean, wait, what's his? I want to give him
Sean Fentress.
Okay, Sean Fentress. I want to give him some
credit,
exposure here. Credit, yeah. Sean Fentress, like this dude was a person, and he clearly was leading a decent life, and this Christina character really liked him. So, yeah, I don't know. That part bothers me a little bit, but as a whole, I do love the idea that the alternate timeline was real. And I don't know if the source code was tapping into all these different timelines, and if there's a limit, or are they infinite, or are they being created by the source code itself? You know, again, this is what time travel or whatever you want to call this type of technology does.
Right.
It creates all these questions. It leaves it open-ended, which I love when movies do.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's this is right or that's wrong, or this plot hole's there or that plot hole's there, at the end of the day, it was very well done. And I just like when it leaves you asking these type questions. That's a great success to me. So
yeah,
and it makes me think. I thought about source code the first time I watched it, like for days.
That's so. What I was just gonna say. What I love about this movie is I call movies like this parking lot movies, because it's the kind of thing that like you go see in a theater with friends, and you stand in the parking lot for like an hour afterwards trying to like talk about what the hell it means.
Break it down. Yeah.
And this is like one of those movies. I don't think this one has any like particularly good answers to it.
No.
It's like Inception. Like Inception, I've gone on and on. It's one of my favorite movies ever made, and has so much shit that doesn't make any sense.
It's a highly controversial film that you could find one person that absolutely hates it, and then
right,
person that absolutely loves it, and you can kind of both come to common ground as to why you feel the way you both feel. You know, I mean, it's like, well, that's what's great about these type of movies.
Yeah, like I can begrudge anyone that hates it because they're wrong, but also I get it. Like it makes sense. I like all of this to like come to the conclusion that when I first saw source code 10 years ago, I wholeheartedly loved this movie. I have reached a point, I still really like this movie. I really like it a lot. I don't like it quite as much as I did the first time, because I think I walked away a little more confused and kind of just like not necessarily satisfied with where it ends up for one reason or another. But it's still something that I find a lot of fun and enjoy for all the same reasons as you, like the questions and the fact that there isn't an answer, and that it makes you think and just kind of like go along for the ride. It has all of those great elements to it, even if it's not going to be satisfying for everybody. But yeah, it's fun, and I think it's not talked about enough. I also like one thing real quick before, and then you can go. I think part of it as well, this came out before Edge of Tomorrow, which is a movie that I think,
love that movie. Yeah, very similar.
Very similar. I think that movie does a lot of this stuff a little bit better. Obviously, I saw this before I ever saw Edge of Tomorrow.
That's more. Edge of Tomorrow is like it is time travel, right?
Not really. It's a Groundhog Day thing, and it's the
it's because of like the
aliens. Yeah, like the alien has this
yeah.
like time thing to it that if like you get the blood in you, then you experience the recycling of time. But yeah, that's a movie that I up there with Fury Road and my favorite action movies of the 2010s. The first time I saw Source Code, I didn't even know Edge of Tomorrow was a thing. Now I watch it again, having seen Edge of Tomorrow, so maybe that like fucks with my head a little bit. But anyway, I love that movie. I like this movie a lot. So yeah, I'll let you say whatever you got now.
Yeah, no, I love this movie just as much as I did the first and second, maybe third time I watched it. I own it on Blu-ray, so popped it in again. I'd probably seen it like, I don't know, 3 times before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. Again, I love movies like this where you have to relive these moments in life until you figure out like not only the problem at hand, but you figure out things about yourself. And that plot never gets old to me. Same thing. Last year was a wildly popular movie on Hulu called you mentioned it earlier, Palm Springs.
Yeah,
same thing. I love it. Can't get tired of this kind of stuff. You know, Edge of Tomorrow, I also really love. I would say, yeah, arguably, if not as much as this one, maybe a little more. Yeah, man, just a really fun movie, really well acted, very well edited. And let's not forget the cinematographer of this film is a fucking legend, Don Burgess, man. Like he was a cinematographer for Forrest Gump, Contact, Castaway, a lot of really, really good movies from the 90s, obviously, but he's done a lot of stuff in Hollywood. So he's a legend, and the movie looks fantastic. I love the look of it, the way it was edited as well. The music is also really good in this movie by some dude named Chris Bacon. I'm not necessarily familiar with him, but great job there. Paul Hirsch was the editor. He looks to be a legend as well. He edited something called have you ever heard of Empire Strikes Back or
Star Wars?
Yeah. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He was on Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol.
Yeah, I'd say he's a legend then if he
yeah.
if he edited those films.
These dudes, yeah, between the cinematographer, the editor, and then you have Duncan Jones, who I was already a huge fan of his because he directed Moon. So I was like high on Duncan Jones, who if people out there don't know, Duncan Jones is actually a son of David Bowie.
I did not know that.
Oh, really?
I didn't, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Duncan Jones, son of David Bowie. Actually, if you look him up on IMDb or you click on his name, you'll see him and you'll be like, wow, he looks kind of like David Bowie.
Yeah.
Huge Moon fan. One of my favorite movies of the 2000s. I really, really love that movie. I saw that in the theater in Oregon, actually. I was visiting some relatives. I remember I was on a road trip just by myself, traveling across country, and I heard great things about this movie, Moon. Watched it in this cool movie theater in Portland and really fell in love with it. So I was super, super pumped for Source Code. And it didn't disappoint. I loved it. Still to this day. And yeah, Duncan Jones went on to make, it's so funny. Like he's after
it kind of sucks what happened to him after Source Code. Like,
yeah, he jumped to Warcraft, which was like this big mess of a project. Originally, I think that was like had Sam Raimi attached to it. I think
that thing was a disaster.
Yeah,
from
and the
whole production process.
I had zero interest in watching it because I'm not a Warcraft person, so I don't give a shit. But yeah, man, love Duncan Jones.
He did a movie for Netflix called Mute.
Yeah, I see that.
That was just critically reviled. This movie got really negative reviews, but I guess in some countries it's known as Moon 2.
What? Oh, Paul Rudd's in it.
All I knew about this movie was that it was a critical mess. Like a lot of negative reviews happened with it.
Oh, it's got one of the. Is that a Skarsgård
Yeah, it's got Alexander Skarsgård.
Oh, it is him. It's Alexander. Yeah.
Big Little Lies.
Is it supposed to be like in the same universe as Moon or something? Or maybe is that the Earth he was going back to in the end?
It's set in the same universe as Moon, but it's a unrelated story. It's just like in the same world.
Give that a try.
Yeah, I mean, if you love Moon, then it might be. Yeah, it says the film was in development hell for many years, but Jones always said he wished to direct it and described it as the spiritual sequel to Moon, heavily inspired by Ridley Scott's Blade Runner. During development, Jones expressed desire for Sam Rockwell to reprise his role in a cameo appearance, but that ended up not happening. Yeah, so interesting. That's
cool,
it.
man.
That's it for Duncan Jones.
Yeah, he's doing something called Rogue Trooper, but I don't.
Yeah, that looks like. I mean, that's got stuff from 2018, and still nothing on that one.
Come on, Duncan, what are we doing, bro? You're good. You're a great director. Let's go.
And that sometimes happens when people have such huge success with their first movie. They kind of don't know what to do. Like they like get off to such a hot start.
And man, that he got some legends for Source Code. My God, he was handed over just like, here you go. Here's this legendary cinematographer and editor. Like, go to it, my friend. And yeah, I mean, Source Code's a good movie. I wouldn't say it's groundbreaking or anything, but I really enjoy it. I love it for the time that it came out, for the year of 2011. Good movie.
Yeah, I remember seeing this in April 2011 and just being like, honestly surprised that I liked it as much as it did. It just like from the trailers and stuff, it's like, oh, it's just like basic sci-fi, whatever. But it has some twists and turns. It, generally keeps you guessing most of the way. And like you said, it's so quick and tight, and it gets to its point within 45 minutes. And then all of a sudden it's ending and you're like, oh, like, okay.
Those scenes were still hard to watch, for like him interacting with the train patrons and citizens, like because I knew in the back of my head, I was like, man, he's got to like fuck with all these patrons, all these people, innocent people, and every time a new 8 minutes would pop up, I'd be like, man, now he's gonna fuck with this guy. Gosh, it's so hard to watch because you know that none of the people in his part of the train are the bomber. He's like, the dude's like in the next train over, I guess, or whatever. But the bomb is, I don't necessarily explain this, but the bomb is in their bathroom, like not far from their seat. So I think something with the source code, and they knew that Sean Hentress's character was like close to the ground zero of when the bomb went off. And
like
luckily
in that train car.
Yeah, luckily his brain. I mean, dude, the fact that they could set all this up so quickly, like it happened this morning.
It is nuts. It is nuts how fast this movie like really wastes, and I admire it for that. It has no table setting. It's just like, boom, here we are. Like we're in the train, and then we're gonna like this whole source code concept gets explained to you within like 10 minutes.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, we got this dude's his part of his brain is also still active, and it's compatible with your part of your brain. And man,
that good.
This happened a few hours ago. We got to figure this out. Like, what? Did you ever watch? Have you ever heard of Quantum Leap? That show?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've never watched it.
Dude, classic, wonderful show from the 80s. It's basically about this guy who, in this, he I think he volunteers to go into this machine, and he's got this dude Ziggy or whatever that like is like his programmer, and he travels back in time during crucial moments in history where really bad things happen. And he travels back in time to take over the body of people that were part of the situation at hand, and he helps alter the future, basically. Like he makes that horrible thing not happen. I think this is before like the rules of time travel really given, like you can't alter the timeline because then all these other terrible things will happen. But Huge fan of Quantum Leap, and this movie reminds me of that too, because it's basically this dude who's going into someone else's body and trying to prevent this horrible thing from happening. And
I'm about to blow your mind here. I can pretty much confirm by what I'm reading that Quantum Leap was a huge inspiration for this movie, because do you see who the voice actor is playing Coulter's dad?
No.
Scott Bakula.
No way.
Star of Quantum Leap.
Wow, that's a twist in our own show. That's crazy, dude. I had no fucking clue.
Yeah, he's a voice cameo as Jake Gyllenhaal's dad.
Oh my god, dude, that's fucking beautiful. Yeah, there it is. The end, Scott Bakula. Wow. That's fun. That's cool. Yeah, that makes me happy. Because it's exactly. And I would love to see instead of them shutting it down, like letting his body go and killing Coulter Stevens in the end, like he could have chosen to be like, oh no, I will continue to serve, the only way I know how now. And he could have and also instead of wiping his memory, just let him be like this Scott Bakula character in Quantum Leap. Just like let him go through all these moments and he can better his skills. And man, what a great, whether it's a movie trilogy or a TV series, and it clearly was a great TV series, Quantum Leap. That's so funny, man. Good call, dude. I never would have noticed.
I knew that Scott Bakula was the star of Quantum Leap. But
it's funny, I was trying to remember his name when I was mentioning Quantum Leap. I was like, the guy.
I was reading the cast list and I saw him, and then as you brought up Quantum Leap, I was like, well, this cannot be a coincidence. Like, this had to have been on purpose.
No, dude, totally.
That he would.
Yeah, that's exactly what his character would do. He would be transmitted into someone else's body from that time period, and he would have to prevent a terrible thing from happening. And the cool thing about the show was that he was like stuck. Like he never knew. He never knew where he was going to go next. Like he just had to like build these relationships with these people, these real people. And then once he finished the job, like he was just like transferred to the next. And at the end of every episode, that was always the cliffhanger. When he'd wake up in someone else's body, he'd look in a mirror and he'd be like a showgirl. Like, shit, next episode, shit, what's that going to happen?
It also goes like wildly against what the main character wanted, though, because what you're describing is basically what Jeffrey Wright wanted all along, which was for Jake Gyllenhaal to just like stay in that little pod and keep like bouncing around from brain to brain.
Yeah.
That's what he wanted. But the whole thing is that Jake Gyllenhaal wanted to be free. He wanted to be at peace or whatever.
I don't know. If you were given the choice to, okay, you understand the situation now, what's happening. Now we
like
can either terminate you.
You're dead, but your brain can like.
Yeah, but you're still living in a way.
Right.
Like, we can terminate you, or you can keep living these lives of other people trying to solve these horrible crimes and saving hundreds, thousands, millions of lives at a time. I mean, come on, that's kind of a sweet deal.
I don't love the part where I have like 8 minutes and then I have to like repeatedly go through the sensation of death over and over again.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole element where he falls in love, and I don't know, like I get it from his perspective too. I would not want to do that a bunch of times over and over again. But I think that's why like it's a good movie, because it kind of leaves a gray area there where you could kind of see the value in what the source code program is trying to accomplish. And then you also see how it's kind of fucked up to force someone into that existence.
Yeah.
Like against their will, basically. Yeah, good movie. I like it a lot. I think I give this a 7 out of 10, like right below Hanna. Got like about a 7.
I would go 8 again. Definitely an 8.
8 again.
And I highly recommend you end this podcast where we fade out to the Quantum Leap theme, because it's one of the greatest television music themes of all time. Is dun, 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 dun.
I'll play it.
It's stuck in my head since I was like 8
Do
years
I
old.
even have to play it now? I mean, we got it right there.
Oh, it's so good, dude. It's so good. It's been cemented into my brain since I was a wee lad.
All right, guys. Well, I think that'll do it for April. It was a fun episode. We'll be back again in May talking about more 2011 movies. Until then, we'll see you next time. Hope you get your vaccines and go see some of this shit in theaters because movie theaters are dying and we got to save them. At least that's my position.
Well, not these movies because they happened 10 years ago.
Not these movies, but the movies coming out now.
F9. Go see F9.
Go see F9 in
Get
theaters.
your vaccine and go see F9.
Save the theaters. All right. Until next time. See you later.
Elsewhere on We Made This.
Free with this month's issue.
What I'd like to say right at the start is, that's the first time I've ever listened to this song on headphones, and I don't like how close Fred Durst sounds.
It feels like he's whispering it in your ear, doesn't it?
But they put some kind of weird little chorus effect on there, so his voice sounds really slimy as well. And it's like, oh, get the fuck out of my ear, Fred Durst.
That may be the Bluetooth connection and the internet connection.
No, because I remember hearing the voice from the TV speakers and stuff like that, and it definitely sounds like that. But it's just very fucking dry and in your ear, and it's properly on. ASMR Fred Durst is not a thing that I like.
I don't like ASMR anyway.
No. Some people do, but I can't imagine Fred Durst will be who they would be wanting to do it.
Life's milestones.
So, my fascination with Americans and embalming, am I just being weird and obsessive, or is it still a massive deal?
We had my mother embalmed when she died because we just thought it was the thing you had to do.
Right.
And usually embalming, if you're going to have an open casket, they have to be embalmed. Otherwise, they won't look so hot.
And they won't smell very nice either.
No, they would not. It would not be a pleasant experience for anyone. But if you're going to do that, I guess embalming is necessary.
Yeah.
And I don't like the idea. I mean, if I'm dead and you're drawing all my fluids out, then I'm definitely dead. So, it's like it is like taxidermy. I'm just on display for people to look at. I might as well be up on the wall.
Podcast 616, a Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast.
I was gone for 5 years and now I'm in a different reality. Whoa, what's happened there?
Luke's been blipped. Yeah. Luke's been blipped. Here he is. Luke's been blipped. He's back again.
So, Luke, it's been 5 years. I've got a few things to catch you up on.
Yeah.
What did he make to Loki season 6, Craig?
Well, what are we on? Spider-Man 8 now, are we? With Sony?
Yeah, but it's Miles Morales now, so that's all good.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.